What's up, guys? Iceman here. Welcome to the Diablo Research Institution. Appreciate you guys for liking this video, subscribe to the page, and hit that bell so you're notified next time I post a video. And blessings to my patrons. Links in the description below. So my Necromancer has made quite a bit of progress since I've last showcased it. Alright, it's level 100. It's been a damn good time. It's been a freaking spiritual journey. And what I did is I did away with the golem thing. The golem's ugly. Everybody's doing it. Yeah, it's probably optimal if you want to get to the tippy top of the Greater Rift pit thing. But that's not really necessary. You can get the endgame materials at level 61. So that was kind of my goal, is to do 61 pit. And then I can start experimenting around with the builds. And what I found is this one with a bunch of mages has been really enjoyable. It's not like the golem where you just have one big damage giver and then the rest of the minions are just meat shields. You know, that's just not very immersive. I wanted my minions to be able to do good damage, like my mages and so forth. So I started tempering my gear with mage damage. And I think it was Todd, one of my channel members on my Diablo 2 channel, who gave me that idea. He said, hey, Iceman, there's an endgame mage build, or a really good mage build that I saw. I saw some guy make a video on it, and I checked it out, and I kind of did my own thing with it. Like, I'm using Reap still, right? And just nobody does that. Nobody wants to use Reap. But I want to use Reap, because I want to be able to hit shit with a scythe and still be like a summoner, so that's what I did. But nonetheless, I'll show you the gear. First off, let's take some of these potions. I normally don't take elixirs. As you can see, my inventory is just filled with them. I don't really like relying on taking this shit every 30 or 20 minutes or whatever. I just think it's kind of annoying and tedious. So I like kind of gauging my build with how well can they perform without elixir buffs, but whatever, I'm going to take it for this video. But just real quick with the gear. I have this helm, nothing special. I masterworked at 4 out of 12. I could probably do away with some. Some of my resists are overcapped, and so is my armor. See, I'm just showing you how unoptimal this build is. Like, I've made little notes here. I need to go over my character again. I just been killing shit in the grind, and I switched stuff up. So basically, I got to get rid of some of the resists on my gear, and I'll still be maxed out. I could lose like 3,000 armor, and I'll still be maxed out with the armor cap. So it's just great that there's plenty of room to grow here, and I still have 7 points on my Paragon. I reset the Paragon, and I wasn't looking at a guide. I just wanted to do my own thing. You know, if you look at a guide, I feel like it just ruins the experience. In a game that's not really much about challenge, it's more about just discovery and finding shit. You know what I mean? So, like, finding a guide, I almost, just following a guide, like, thing by thing or whatever, choice by choice, it's just kind of like typing into cheat code, I feel. And then, like, you're like, what the hell do I do next? But not to say I will never follow a guide, because I probably will in the future. But it's been kind of fun just reading all this shit and just doing my own thing, you know? And my skill tree is probably not all that optimal. But nonetheless, my gear, nothing special. I went for Corpse Tendril size. I went for Corpse Tendril size here. It's pretty nice armor here. I would really like to reroll. Actually, I don't know what I want to reroll on this. Maybe some Replenish Life or something, but what I was meaning is I want to reroll Skeleton Mage damage on the pants. But I have these gloves that have +2 to Skeleton Mage damage. The two items you can get plus to Skeleton Mage mastery on are your gloves and your pants. So if I could re-roll it on these pants, but the thing is, it's a very rare roll. But if you can re-roll Skeletal Mage Mastery on your pants, it's going to be freaking godly. So I think I'm just going to blow a ton of gold and just keep re-rolling this stat. Because right now the armor is completely useless. Like I said, I'm way over the cap. I might as well replace it with anything, like Replenish Life, which is kind of an ass stat, right? But nonetheless, I don't really know if there's a cap with how costly it gets, because the more you re-roll a stat, the more expensive it seems to be getting. So do any of you know if there's like a cap to that? Like, is like 2 million gold the cap, or is that shit just going to keep going up to where I'm just going to be like, I give up. I just can't do it anymore. I've just got to settle. I don't really know which way it goes, but if I could re-roll +2 to Skeletal Mage on these things, that would be amazing. But nonetheless, these boots, nothing too special. They do have 2 greater affixes. And see, I didn't even masterwork these things. Like, this character has such a long ways to go. Which is great, you know, it's a spiritual journey. It's been a damn good time. This is the furthest I've ever masterworked an item, and I'm working my way now to get it 12 out of 12. And this is a hog two-handed scythe. Check that out. Greater affix of intelligence with 351 right now, 2,700 life, 130% critical strike damage. Now here's what's really crazy, is I like maxed out on these stats. I believe I got the max rolls on these things, on the skeletal mage damage, and look at that, it's plus 246.5% right now. It's just unbelievable. And I just re-rolled this other one as well. It's like doubling your damage when they cast twice. So 76.5 chance for skeletal mage attack to cast twice. So yeah, this thing is just an absolute hog. And I did go with the summoning minion imprint on here because if you put it on a two-handed weapon, it doesn't cap at 45% IS, it caps at 90% increased attack speed, in which case you only need 10% more attack speed to hit that break point for one of these legendary nodes on your Paragon. Which one is that? It's the one where they attack really fast, because that caps out at 100 its benefit. Where the hell is it? It's, I think it was the second one. It should be right here. Yeah, see that? Your minions deal 30% increased damage for each 20% of attack speed bonus they have, up to a maximum of 100% attack speed. So if you want to hit the maximum benefit of Cult Leader, you only need your minions to have 100% increased attack speed. In which case, if you put the attack speed imprint on your two-handed weapon, you're already at 90%. Is what they max out at on that. So you only need 10% more increased attack speed on your gear. And unfortunately, I'm over the cap a little bit on that because I have I have attack speed on something or another. On these gloves, I have 10.4, so I might have actually just hit the cap. But you still benefit continually for attack speed, of course, but it's going to be diminishing returns if you're comparing it to what you benefit from that legendary node. So, I mean, this seems to be a good way to go. And I've tested a one-hander and an offhand in comparison to this, and the two-handed scythe just seems to do so much more damage. But I will compare it more. Of course, it wasn't really fair. I mean, these two things aren't even masterworked at all. And when I was comparing them, I think this thing was 4 out of 12, so I'm going to compare them some more. The benefit, of course, is you can have another legendary imprint on your offhand. But yeah, this scythe is an absolute slug of a scythe. I don't know how I'm going to beat this thing. And I know it only has one greater affix, but I just capped out. I just topped out on the two tempers that I wanted on it. I wanted the skeletal mage damage, and I wanted the chance for them to attack twice. And I like maxed out when I rolled those damn things before I started tempering it. So it's just a complete slug. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I might have found my endgame one right here for the season. I don't really know. Obviously, I could find a better one. It's definitely possible. You'd want to find one with 2 greater affixes, or even better yet, 3 greater affixes of the rolls that you want. Would be a complete slug, especially if you can temper on the stuff that you want. But there's my amulet. I did skeletal mage damage on there, some movement speed. The stats on this thing aren't really all that great. I kind of switched out my gear after I got away from Golem. Like I said, Golem, it's just so ugly, and I just hate relying on one minion to do all the damage. It's just what everybody's doing, you know what I'm saying? So I wanted to go the path less traveled, and I like having my mages just shoot shit all around me. And we're just doing the general stuff like Hell Tides and Nightmare Dungeons. You know, these guys are just destroying. And like Nightmare Dungeons capped out, level 100, right? This character's just burning through it without much of an issue. So, I mean, Greater Rifts, you know, it's fun to challenge your character, to push them to the brink. But I kind of want one, you know, it's like the Diablo 2 days where you get to the cap of the difficulty, which in D2, it's not very high. Basically, the end game is just doing battle runs over and over again. People just destroy them in one hit. You know, but that's when the fun starts to come in, is when you can start to tamper with your build and have it be a little bit more automated or whatever you want to do. You know what I mean? And Diablo 2 has lived on for 25 years. You could argue, well, there's endgame shit with the Ubers, but the Ubers in Diablo 2, it's not really the way to power creep your character up at all, because it just drops the torch, and then once you get the torch, it doesn't matter how many times you do the damn Ubers, it's not going to make your character any more powerful. Of course, you could argue, well, if you get a bunch of torches, you just keep trading them and get a bunch of shit for your character. There's that, but I mean, aside from that, you basically run it with an Uber character, and that's that, and then you give it to your other character that you want to like run the rest of the game with, which is pretty much easy shit. But yeah, I'm kind of enjoying the fine blend of things with Diablo 4 so far, and I hope that they keep it in this direction. But for the rest of my gear, just that ultimate cooldown, I kind of like that. It's okay, summoning damage, so I could re-roll this. Well, I've actually bricked this ring now. Another spiritual journey in itself, trying to find another ring. I got to find one and roll skeletal mage damage and ultimate cooldown, I think. Like I did with this one. This one's quite nice. Yeah, look at that. And I don't know if the 31 damage roll is going to be better than an intelligence roll. I mean, theoretically it is when it comes to your DPS, because, 80, 100 intelligence, I don't think is going to compare to 31% added damage. It certainly doesn't with the attack power thing, but this is kind of misleading, so you guys got to be careful. Don't trust that shit. But that's where my Necromancer is now. I've done these higher rifts. It's not much of a problem. I did this one. I ran through it without much issue, but the boss actually killed me, and I had to get going. I had an appointment to get to, so I was like, fuck it. It was a doctor's appointment because I have an IV in my arm. I had a bone infection. It was a bench press accident. It was a real tough guy. Bench press at 365 pounds, but I'll never do that bullshit again. Ripped a pec, got surgery, bone infection, this, that, and the third. But anyway, let's see how well the Necromancer now can run the 61. Like I said, that was kind of my goal, is I wanted to run 61 Rift, because then you can collect the top materials. Granted, you collect more of them the higher you go, but as long as you master at 12 out of 12 all of your gear, it's not really a power gate or whatever to be forced to do higher grade rifts like what it is in Diablo 3, and I hope that they keep it that way in this. But nonetheless, yeah, check that out. Not bad. I'm just getting into the groove. Here's what I do. The beginning is always kind of a pain in the ass, but here's what I do. I see that the mages are killing shit. It's not that bad. So I curse them. I go up and hit them with a Reap, and then I'll cast Corp Tendrils, and I could cast Army of the Dead. And then when they get all sucked up, I'll cast my Blood Mist, and my Blood Mist is triggering Corpse Explosion. I have that somewhere on my gear, right there on the boots. So I actually do have Corpse Explosion as a skill modified, but I don't have it on my belt. And I have the one that makes that little pool of whatever. But check this out. Yeah, it's actually a pretty cool strategy, because you just pull them in, and you can make your first corpse with Reap if you want. And then you pull them all in, and then when you get them all together, you cast your Blood Mist, and it just like multiplies your damage and shit. You know, it's pretty cool. And you guys could check out my aspects if you want, from what I was just showcasing my gear a minute ago. But yeah, it's actually not that bad. So there you go. Do that, cast that. Just already killed them all. If I wanted to be faster, I could, it's, but I like the mages, how they give you the option. You can just sit back and chill sometimes. If you're doing Hell Tides, you can just sit back and chill, These mages are doing godly damage for what they are, and there's a lot of room for improvement. My Paragon is complete garbage. Like, look at this. I'm not even hitting them. No Army of the Dead, nothing. This build doesn't even have the Army of the Dead imprint, where it does like 100% damage while it's active for your minions. I'm gonna have to try to figure out how to slip that in somewhere, which is part of the fun. And that would be where I would benefit on having an offhand as well, because then I could put the Army of the Dead imprint, or the second Shadow Blight imprint, which I don't really know how helpful that one is. There's two Shadow Blight imprints. I'm using this one, where you deal 116% increased damage for 6 seconds after the Shadow Blight key passive damages enemies 10 times. So that's pretty nice. This one, you deal 50% increased shadow damage to enemies afflicted by any curse. So yeah, I'm just constantly cursing them, obviously. So it seems like a good synergy as well. But there's Army of the Dead. But it's been a toad of a time, and I'm going to still try to fight Uber Lilith. I tried to fight her with my other build. She kicked my ass. I got her down to like 2/3 health one time, but still kicked my ass. But now I'm actually doing a lot more DPS, it seems. And like I said, I don't intend to like just look at some guide and just copycat that shit. And just try to get to the tippy top of the greater rifts. I just don't really think that that's where the endgame should be. And because like I said, what happens when you make the endgame the tippy top of the greater rifts is it's going to force you all into just one damn build, And then we have Diablo 3 all over again. And if you want Diablo 3 all over again, just go play Diablo 3. They do have the expansion. They're still doing the seasons. So if you want that whole greater rift chase is the end game, or that's the only way to level up your whatever those things are, those legendary gems or whatever the hell you call them. Then that game is there, So hopefully they're gonna keep this game in the direction they have it, I think. And I'm not sure how Path of Exile is gonna be, but the problem is Path of Exile has a a difficulty aspect about it, where well, a challenge aspect about it, where they have the unlimited dodge. You know, so it's kind of like Dark Souls. We got to dodge around and shit. The problem is Diablo 4, they have like a very much so handicapped version of that. They have a dodge that has a cooldown, and at max it can use like 3 of them over a couple seconds, then it's still on a cooldown. So it's not as demanding for like dexterity, agility, timing, and all that, and, you know, being methodical. So it totally negates that whole the skill demand that that Path of Exile 2 will demand. You know what I mean? So it all comes down to just a big-ass number crunch for the most part. I mean, it is a bit challenging to dodge around and shit. So there is that going on. But yeah, I kind of like the endgame so far. What do you guys think about Diablo 4? I'm looking forward to having more depth with it. I think they should have something like the rarity of runes, and like what Diablo 2 has, where you could maybe augment your gear that you currently have with runes and have the runes be really rare. You know, like you could just grind your out. Like I've played Diablo 2 for 25 years. I've never found a lot of the really rare shit. You know, I never found Ethereal's Might. Not that it's very useful, but I've made an Enigma once from my own grinding. I've made an Infinity once from my own grinding and a little bit of trading. It was all legit trading, though, to my knowledge. I really busted my ass to make those things. But yeah, the item chase is part of the allure in a game like this, I think. And I think it would be cool if they had some sort of way to implement runes, maybe like you could put like 2 runes in your armor and it would like let you have like 5 more minions or something crazy like that, or let you teleport or some shit. But I just don't really know if teleport is as much in demand in a game like this. I don't think it is. It was in demand in Diablo 2 because the game was kind of centered around killing the same couple things over and over again. You know, you'd kill Shank, you'd teleport to the pit and do that, or you'd teleport to Baal and kill Baal. But in this game, it's like kind of beneficial to just kill things on your way is how it's set up. You know, you got to complete the dungeon, then you get the happy ending, you know? But there's my character so far. Let me know your thoughts on that. That was a 61 Greater Rift. Wasn't a problem. I'm looking forward to messing around more with it. Looks like I found, that's okay. But yeah, other than that, I've been selling my gear a lot because I need gold. Especially if I want to try to re-roll the mod on the pants. But yeah, thank you guys for coming by. Like this video if you will, subscribe to this page, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace be with you.